Do you think that AI automation projects fail because the technology doesn't work? I've come across many business leaders who believe this, but that is not the case. According to Ernst Young, between 30 to 50% of automation projects fail globally. And here's what's crazy. It's almost never because there was an issue with the software. A recent MIT study found that 95% of AI pilots fail. And if you read the headline, they blame the technology. But when you actually dig into the study, it reveals something completely different. These initiatives fail due to organizational issues, not technology problems. They didn't spend enough time assessing the use cases, and they just spend way too much time obsessing about the tech, and they found themselves automating the wrong thing. In this video, I'll share the exact framework that businesses are using today to achieve real efficiency gains using AI and automation. Don't be like the other guys who are wasting time and money on projects that don't deliver meaningful results. And by the end of this video, you'll have the systematic framework for identifying your highest value AI and automation opportunities, rather than just automating anything that just seems cool and is technically doable. Here is the brutal truth about most automation roadmaps. They follow what I call the automate anything possible philosophy. Somebody at a conference heard that AI could save hundreds of thousands of dollars. They bought all the AI tools, they hired the developers, and only then they started to look for things to automate. This is backwards. But there's something even more fundamental that they got wrong. They designed AI automation around tools and tasks instead of people. This seems ironic given the widespread fear that AI is going to replace everybody's job. AI is meant to streamline business operations and make the lives of your employees better, not worse. So what happens when you ignore this? They apply rigid, deterministic tools to human-centered processes. They end up running AI workflows that require more human insight than the manual processes that they originally replaced. Now, I've spent years studying what makes certain processes perfect for automation and why others are automation disasters waiting to happen. When AI automation is implemented strategically, it helps businesses overcome the challenges that they face, and it also future-proofs their operations for success. And it all comes down to understanding 3 criteria. We call these the 3 R's: repetitive, rules-based, routine. Now, these 3 R's may sound simple. They are not. They aren't just tactical filters for task selection. They are profound indicators of process maturity and human value alignment. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why repetitive is the economic engine that makes AI automation financially viable, why rules-based is the stability requirement that prevents broken workflows, and why routine is the cognitive filter that separates mechanical tasks from human-centered work. Also, I'm sharing the full assessment framework that you can use today to check all of your workflows. Let's get into it. Your first R is repetitive. And this is where most people get tripped up right away because they think repetitive means I do this task a lot, but it's actually more specific than that. In AI automation, repetitive refers to 3 things. Frequency, how often does this task execute? Volume, what is the total annual transaction cost? Duration, how long does it take to execute manually? Let me show you why this matters. Automation has significant front costs. There's software licensing, there's infrastructure setup, there's development time, there's solution architecture. So if the process has low execution volume, or it happens infrequently, it rarely justifies the initial investment, regardless of how technically simple it might be. Let's take a look at the maths. If an AI workflow saves you 30 seconds per transaction, and that transaction occurs 10 times per month, that's 60 minutes per year. Just 1 hour. The development time to build that workflow would be about 8 to 12 hours. But watch what happens when we tweak the volume. Same task, same 30-second saving, but now it happens 10,000 times per month instead of 10. That is 83 hours per month, nearly 1,000 hours per year. Now here is the critical difference. Processes that are too simple shouldn't be automated either. If a task takes 10 seconds and happens once per week, building an automation around it takes more complexity than it solves. And here's something critical that most people miss. Repetitiveness is also linked to human error rates. There's this psychological phenomenon called the vigilance decrement. Human accuracy degrades significantly during monotonous and repetitive tasks. But why? Cognitive failure and loss of focus. But automation suffers from no such decrement. So repetitive serves a dual purpose. It ensures the volume necessary for companies to recoup their investment costs. It also finds the exact areas where humans may perform better or worse than AI workflows. But here's the distinction that'll save you from making a huge mistake. A task can be repetitive without being persistent. For example, tax filing. You might process 5,000 returns, but only in April. That's repetitive, but it's not persistent throughout the year. Processes that are too infrequent fall into this category versus invoice processing. That could be 200 transactions that happen every single business day. That is both repetitive and persistent. This distinction influences your platform subscriptions, but also how scalable your platform needs to be. So when you're evaluating repetitive, don't just count the transactions. Map their distribution across the calendar. Your second R is rules-based, and this is where most AI automation projects fail. Rules-based means that standardized, unambiguous logic governs the process. Specific inputs invariably lead to specific outputs. No interpretation required. No ambiguity, no creativity. Let me show you what this actually looks like in practice. When you're assessing rules-based, you're asking, can this decision tree be fully mapped? Can you understand what the trigger is? What happens next? Then what happens after that? If this happens, then that happens. If that happens, then this happens. But here is the critical part. The process must be stable. Research shows that processes with ever-changing rules are the least suitable for automation. Why? Because tools like Make.com and N8N connect systems through APIs and data structures. They rely on specific API endpoints, field names, and data formats. If an application updates its API structure and the endpoint changes, or if a data field gets renamed, the workflow breaks. The connection points are no longer aligned. Processes that are too changeable violate this criteria entirely. And here's another dimension of rules-based that most people underestimate. The rules must be explicit and documented. If the rules live only in the minds of workers, something that we call tribal knowledge, you can't automate anything. The violation of rules-based leads to a broken workflow. The automation fails either silently or explicitly because the real-world scenario deviated from the encoded rule set. And when that happens at scale, let me show you one of the most expensive examples of this in history. In 2013, Target expanded into the Canadian market. Their plan? To open 133 stores in just 2 years. To support this, they built a complex automated supply chain management system, SAP, enterprise grade, state-of-the-art, but they failed to ensure the data integrity of their inventory records.
Its supply chain was not properly structured and riddled with data errors. It grew to be one of the biggest hurdles as it continued opening. Those hurdles heightened alongside major technical issues and a flawed merchandising system.
They had overstocks in their warehouse of goods while stores were empty. I mean, that I think was really the biggest problem. And had Target simply put a moratorium on it right away and said, look, we can't afford to fail here. They were really well known for their product alliances and their designer alliances and a great store environment. They weren't necessarily up to scratch when it came to operational efficiency and enterprise management.
Their automated workflows required accurate dimensions, product codes, and unit measures from their data sources. Those were the rules that the system needed, but the data entering the system was riddled with errors. So the system executed the rules perfectly. Warehouses overflowed with inventory. Store shelves sat empty because replenishment orders were never shipped. Staff had to manually count inventory, defeating the entire purpose of having the automation in the first place. Target Canada closed in 2015, just 2 years later, at a loss of $5.4 billion. Let that sink in. This is what happens when you violate rules-based. Automation doesn't fix broken processes. It scales them. So when you're evaluating rules-based, you're asking 3 questions. Number 1, are the decision rules explicitly documented? Number 2, are the underlying systems and the APIs stable? And number 3, is the input data structured and consistent? And if you answer no to any of those, stop. Re-engineer the process first and then automate. Now your third and final R is routine. And this one's often conflated with repetitive, but they are not the same thing. A task can be repetitive, but not routine. Think of customer complaint resolution. It happens 100 times a day. That's repetitive, but every single case requires a unique blend of compassion, empathy, negotiation, and interpretation. That's high cognitive variation and not routine. This is what we call processes that are too qualitative. It requires human analysis, emotional intelligence, and nuance. These should not be automated. Now compare that to copying data from a standard invoice into an ERP system. It happens 100 times daily. That's repetitive, and with minimal variation required. That's both repetitive and routine. Let me show you how to identify routine in your workflows. Look at your email. How many responses follow the same pattern? Thanks for your inquiry. Here's a link to our pricing page. Those are mechanical tasks that are primed for automation. Look at your data analysis. How many reports follow simple pattern recognition, but require humans to interpret it? Sales trends show seasonal decline in Q4. That's complex analysis and a good candidate for AI-assisted workflows. Now look at your content creation. How many pieces require originality but follow structured templates? A monthly newsletter to clients. That's creative production, human-led but with AI support. The pattern? Match cognitive load to automation approach. Now, let's apply the 3 R's scorecard. This is a weighted assessment matrix. Repetitive factors, frequency, volume, duration, carry 45% of the total weight. Rules-based factors, standardization, input type, execution rates, another 45%. Routine factors, system stability, cognitive load, 10%. Let me show you how to use this. We're going to score a real task, generating a monthly report. Frequency, how often is this executed? Monthly, not daily, but consistent. 3 out of 5. Volume, total annual transactions, 12 reports per year. Moderate volume, 3 out of 5. Duration, time per execution. It takes 4 hours manually, a significant time saving. 5 out of 5. Standardization, are the rules documented? Yes, clear financial reporting standards. 5 out of 5. Input type, structured data, database queries, Excel reports, fully structured. 5 out of 5. Exceptions, about 10% need review for anomalies. The score is 4 out of 5. Cognitive classification, mechanical or complex analysis. Mostly mechanical with some pattern recognition. 4 out of 5. Multi-dimensional value, learning, relationships, enjoyment. Low learning value, no relationship impact, low enjoyment, good automation fit. 5 out of 5. The final score, 82%. Here's how to interpret this. Less than 60%, not ready. Re-engineer the process first. 60 to 80%, a candidate for AI-assisted workflows. Keep humans in the loop. Greater than 80%, a prime candidate for fully automated AI workflows. A high probability of success. The scorecard removes emotion and bias from the decision. It's evidence-based prioritization. Now that you've scored your processes, here's how to match them to the right implementation approach. Full automation. Apply to mechanical, low-value tasks with minimal human involvement. Standard data processing, reoccurring billing payments, routine notifications. Build these in make.com or N8N with error handling and monitoring. AI-assisted process. Use when AI can handle mechanical aspects while humans guide direction. The AI can create research summaries or customer inquiry responses. Humans review and make final decision before sending. Maintain primary manual process with AI augmentation. Humans lead client strategy or plan campaigns. AI handles any supporting research or logistical details. Intentionally manual. Preserve entire human processes despite automation potential. Sensitive client conversations or meaningful team rituals. Activities where the process itself provides value beyond the outcome. The strategy respects both efficiency and human value, creating a sustainable balance. It adapts well to your organizational capacity. During high demand periods, you might shift more towards automation while preserving intentionally manual processes for meaningful activities. All right, you've got the framework. Now let's talk about how you can apply this to your organization. Here's the principle. Start small, think big. Begin with pilot projects that have clear success metrics, not improve efficiency, but reduce invoice processing from 4 hours to 30 minutes. Limit scope and risk. One department, one workflow, contained failure modes. Enthusiastic champions on your team. People who want this to succeed and will advocate for it. Potential for expansion if successful. The workflow can scale to other departments or processes. For example, start with AI-powered customer inquiry routing before attempting to automate your entire customer service operation. Here's your implementation roadmap. Week 1, audit phase. Document your team's top 20 most consuming tasks. Don't filter yet, just capture. Week 2, assessment phase. Apply the 3R scorecard to each use case. Be ruthless. If it doesn't score above 60%, remove it from the list. Week 3, validation phase. For your top 3 candidates, map the detailed process flow, not just the happy path. Every exception, every edge case. Week 4, pilot phase. Build pilots for your highest scoring process. Start in N8N or make.com with proper error handling. Prove value, then scale. But here's the thing. Even the perfect automation will fail without organizational buy-in. Remember, 95% of AI pilots fail due to the organizational issues, not the technology. You need to educate employees, align departments, get executive buy-in, and demonstrate the benefits. When everyone knows the benefits automation will bring, they'll be more likely to embrace it. Here are the questions every organization should ask before investing in AI automation. 1. What specific problems are we solving? Avoid vague goals like be more innovative. Define concrete outcomes. 2. How will we measure success? Establish clear metrics before implementation, not after. 3. Do we have the data that this solution needs? Ensure your information is accessible, structured, and organized. 4. Are we prepared to train our team? Do we have budget for skill development, not just software licenses? 5. How does this integrate with our current processes? Minimize disruption to working systems. Map the connections carefully. 6. What's our plan if it doesn't work? Have exit strategies and backup plans. Not every automation succeeds. These questions separate successful implementations from expensive failures. So let's bring this home. The 3 R's. Repetitive, the economic engine that makes automation financially viable. Rules-based, the stability requirement that prevents broken workflows. Routine, the cognitive filter that separates mechanical tasks from human-centered work. But remember the exclusions. Processes that are too simple, too infrequent, too changeable, or too qualitative should not be automated. Efficiency gain, learning value, relationship impact, and enjoyment factor. Automation isn't just about saving time. It's about preserving what makes us human. Here's the strategic principle. Filter relentlessly using these criteria. And if a process doesn't meet them, don't try to force the automation. Re-engineer the process first. Make it repetitive. Make it rules-based. Make it routine. Then automate. The organizations that understand this, they're not chasing the shiny tools. They're not automating everything possible. They're systematically identifying the processes where automation delivers genuine value, where it frees their team's cognitive capacity for the work that actually requires human insight. Strategic thinking, creative problem solving, relationship building starts with clear pilot projects. Assess multidimensionally, get organizational buy-in, and automate with discipline. If you want access to any of the frameworks that I mentioned in this video, please check out the link in the description below. And if you found this valuable, please subscribe for more frameworks like this. I'll see you in the next one.